I'll just find another way. Oh God, you lost everything. Oh my God, let's get the pity party around you. And I'm like, I don't want that. That's not the party I want to have. There was a reason for this, and I'm going to use it as an opportunity to follow my dreams, follow my food dreams at the age of 54 years old, 4 years ago. This wasn't 15 years ago. We lost everything in 2017, 2018. And to look at my wife in the eye and just tell her it's going to be fine, but it doesn't look great right now.
Welcome to the Seven Hats Podcast. My name is Yuval Selik, and I've been on the entrepreneurial roller coaster for over 20 years. I've experienced it all throughout my journey: the grind, burnout, failure, and ultimately, success. The turning point for me was realizing that building a successful company is meaningless if you neglect the other significant areas of your life. So today, I'm inviting you to join me on an adventure through those 7 areas, what I call the 7 hats. Every week, my guests and I will drop valuable insights and pearls of wisdom, helping, motivating, and inspiring you to get your 7 hats in order and deliver real impact with meaning. So let's get going. Welcome, 7 Hatters. In this episode, we speak with Stephen Caldwell and dive deep into hats 1, 3, 4, and 7, the soul, servant, entrepreneur, and seeker, as we take a culinary entrepreneurial journey where Swiss meets West and find out what a Rosti really is. Stephen is one of the most talented and charismatic entrepreneurs that I know. And let me tell you, this guy experienced it all: the good, the bad, and the ugly. With a lifelong passion for food, Stephen faces demons when he had to start from scratch at 54 after losing it all and risking it all again to achieve his current success. As the founder of Rosti Stuft Spuds, Stephen beat all the odds and launched a massively successful culinary treat, changing the game, modernizing a classic, and putting smiles on people's faces. So, if you're craving a hero story stuffed with golden nuggets or cheese, let's keep it crispy and welcome Stephen to the 7 Hats. Stephen, welcome to the 7 Hats.
Hey, Yuval, how are you? Thank you for having me.
I am so excited. You know, I'm a recovering CPG founder who experienced a Black Swan event back when I first launched my skincare line. And that was in 2008. I think we all remember those fun times.
Yes.
And we met May of 2020, another Black Swan event that turned the emerging CPG world upside down. Now, I have to say, I was so impressed with what you did and how you handled yourself as a brand marketer, kept in touch and formed a bond that only 2 crazy CPG founders can form during difficult times.
Exactly.
You know, we can safely say that CPG retail is tough, which is why so few actually survive, right? But you, my friend, are thriving, and I can't wait to get into it. Before we get to those incredible stories of yours and that wonderful, soothing radio voice of yours, which I love,
okay.
I know that the 7 Hatters would love to learn more about who Stephen is and how your beginnings shaped your destiny.
Sure.
So, Stephen, where were you born and how was your childhood like?
I was actually born in Oregon, but immediately moved to the state of Washington, where my dad had a small finance company. So all 5 of my siblings, I was right in the middle. So I have 2 older siblings, 2 sisters, then I have a sister and a brother below. So I was the first boy. So I was always Steve Jr. My father was Stephen, and we all went to Catholic school. So we moved to Tacoma, Washington. I went to Catholic school there, Holy Cross, and then he had an opportunity to open a finance company, small one, in Yakima, Washington, where I finished my years of growing up, high school, and so on and so forth. So in Yakima is really where it kind of turned me into what I know now as an entrepreneur. He had the opportunity to take his finance skills and partner with a couple of other gentlemen in a car dealership. So they opened a Dodge, Mazda, Volvo franchise, or took one over. And at the age of 9, I was hired by my father because I told him, I want to work. I want to work at your car dealership. So he would have me, he would pick me up and we would take a 40-minute drive down to Toppenish, Washington on the corner of 97 and 22 highways on 5 acres of a gravel car lot. And him and his two partners would kick me out of the car with two rings of keys, and I would go put out keys to over 500 cars. That would give them time to go to the restaurant behind them and go have breakfast. And by the time they got back, I had put out all the keys, put them above the visor, and got them ready for the salesman to show up. And I really enjoyed that because I would wash the cars, I would gas up the cars. That's where I learned how to drive. And so, the summer where I actually worked a lot more than weekends while I was going to school, I only wrecked 2 cars the whole summer, and it wasn't too bad. So I figured that was a win. And that really started me thinking on the more I work, I get a paycheck. And so every other Friday, I would do just like the salesman would do, like the service and parts guys would do. They would go up to the window at HR. They would get a check. Well, I would get a check. And then I would go and cash it. And then I would go, get lunch or whatever. But at that point, I kind of figured out I got the bug that, I really love to work. And if the harder you work, you get compensated for that. Plus, I got to drive cars and I got to pitch quarters with the salesman and I got to, race the old trade-ins, the old, muscle cars in the back of the lot that, Dad didn't know about. And we would do timed and then, I would have to, if I didn't win, I would have to pay up whatever we bet. So those were my years that started what I really loved about it. And as I said before, I was in Catholic school. So at that time, all 5 of us kids were at St. Paul's Cathedral in Yakima. And a buddy of mine in the 7th grade came up to me one day and said, "Hey, I want to start a band." And I said, "Well, I work for my dad on the weekends, but what do you think?" And he goes, "Well, do you play?" And I said, "No, but that sounds like fun." And so he said, "Well, do you think you can get a guitar and learn how to play?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do that. Let's start a band." So I asked my dad for a guitar for Christmas, and that was when I was 11. So I got a guitar for Christmas, and he didn't realize that an electric guitar needed an amp. So I didn't say anything because we didn't have a lot of money. I didn't say anything to him, but I took him aside and I said, "I can't hear anything. I need an amp." So he picks me up after school. He leaves the car dealer, picks me up. We go down to Talcott Music Store. He bought this amp for like $50, and he's like, "God, don't tell your mom, don't tell your siblings, but I know you need an amp." I started teaching myself on 8-tracks, so you couldn't rewind 8-tracks, right? You could only fast forward them.
Can you tell the 7 hatters who have no clue what an 8-track is?
Oh.
What an 8-track is?
An 8-track is almost double the size of this iPhone, and it's super thick, and it looks like a cassette player, or it actually looks like a DVD, or not a DVD, but a VHS, right? A VHS player. And you would push it in, lock it in, and push play, but there was only fast forward, no reverse. So it would took me 15 or 20 minutes to fast forward to figure out the part of the song that I was in that I was learning. Anyway, I self-taught myself on how to play guitar, and we started this band. I started really enjoying myself. So about 6 months later, in the summertime, I was heading into 8th grade. We had learned 40 or 50 songs. I decided to actually take the band over, and we called it Apogee. I asked my dad, I said, "I want to name this band the highest point, the best. What would that be? Like the apex?" And he goes, "Well, let's go to the dictionary." So we looked it up, and Apogee became the name. Fast forward, I start booking gigs, and we were booked when I was in 8th grade. We were booked 9 weeks in a row at one point, playing Friday and Saturday nights. I would make $450 for a 3-hour gig. We had 2 sisters, Carmen and Petra. One was a lead singer, one was a piano player. But every single time I would get a bass player, they would bring all their equipment. But if they didn't work out, they would take all their equipment with them, and then I was out of equipment that I needed. So my dad looked at me and he said, if you're gonna run this like a business, I think what we need to do is you buy the sound system, you buy the amps, so whoever shows up with their guitar or their bass or their drumsticks, you already have it. And I said, okay. So we went to the Catholic Credit Union, and he co-signed for me. I was 13 at the time, and I got a $700 loan. So I bought a PV sound system, I bought the monitors, I bought the mic stands and everything else. So now I didn't have to worry about any of that. So I was booking these gigs, and we'd pass the hat if anybody wanted to go on longer than an hour, 3 hours for an extra $100 an hour. I really, that was the next bug I got. Like the harder I worked for my dad during the day. I played gigs at night. And then there was another band in Yakima that the 2 sisters that worked for me or played in my group, her 2 older brothers played in another group. And so they came to me one time and they said, and I was 14 at the time, almost 15. We'd be booking these gigs and everything. And they said, hey, listen, we're going on the road. We're going to open up for a national country band. And we just got signed in agreement with a agency in Seattle. I said, well, what does that take? Well, they were all older than me. They'd already graduated high school. The long and the short of it was I had an opportunity to go on the road for 3 months at a time that literally turned into 9 months out of the next 2 years. But there was a problem with that. I wasn't finished with high school. And I was the only one of 5 siblings that never went to college. I graduated with a 1.62 GPA. And I just, I was more into the entrepreneur bug. I did the morning announcements in high school. I would, in the middle of that, I would go back to that room during lunch and I would buy and sell equipment. I'd put it on Yakima Herald Republic. And I would do deals all the time at Eisenhower High School. And so I was making good money doing that and selling odd things. So finally, with this opportunity to get picked up by this agency in Seattle, my dad said, well, write a business plan and let me see what that looks like. So I write this business plan, present it to my mom and dad. And he reads through it and he says, man, this is really well done. The only thing that's missing is, how are you going to get a diploma? And I said, oh, I'm not going to get a diploma. I'm leaving, Dad. I'm going on the road. I'm going to be a rock star. And he's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Go back to the drawing board and figure it out. So what I figured out was I could take 7 classes during the day as a junior in high school, just starting as a junior. I would take 6 classes at night at the upstairs school. And again, these are schools where people who didn't like going to the day of high school, or, there may have been, pregnant teens or what have you, they would go to here and try to get their GED. So they asked me when I first got there, what are you doing here? What are you in for? And I said, well, I'm graduating high school early and I'm going on the road. And they said, yeah, right. So I would do 7 during the day, 6 classes at night. And then I would leave the upstairs school and I would drive half a mile to the club that we were the house band at. Now it's a Marriott in Yakima. And I'd play 6 nights a week from 9:30 until 2:30 in the morning. I would have to leave during the breaks because I wasn't 21. I was only 16. Almost 17. So I did it. I got my diploma in November of my junior year, and I went on the road. And my dad sent it to me, my graduating class. I was on the road somewhere in Canada is when he sent it to me. So what I did then was I was making around $700 every Friday after taxes on the road. And we had a big tour bus and we did an EP. We recorded it in Seattle. And I started socking that money away and I started buying rental homes when I was 17. So I wasn't old enough to sign a contract, but because my dad was Steve Sr., he signed for me. So my first 3 rentals who went to my first ex-wife, which is fine. You live and you learn. So I left the road. One day we were in Great Falls, Montana. It was 3:30 in the morning. We were heading back to Yakima, all broke down, 60 degrees below zero with a wind chill factor. I'm underneath the bus with a torch trying to get the diesel lines unthawed, which was crazy thinking about it today. And when we finally got the bus started, I pop out from underneath and George, the band leader, said, I had an epiphany. I said, well, what would that be? As I'm freezing my tail off with the rest of the band members. He said, we're going to get back to Yakima. We're going to play the last 3 months at Johnny's, the Marriott today. And then we're going to get a commune in Oregon and we're going to play for the Lord. And I was born and raised Catholic and I'm a believer. Okay. But I looked at him and I said, hey, George, what does that pay? And he said, nothing. That's the beautiful part about it. I looked at a payphone across the highway and I said, I'll be right back. I called my dad and I said, this is what George just said. And he goes, get to the closest airport. I can fly you home. I said, Dad, it's not like that. I'll drive the bus home. I was the bus driver we drew straws. So I get home, played the last couple of months and I left on good terms and I went to work for my dad. And I said, what am I going to do? And so he said, well, now that you're 18, you can sell cars at my car dealership. And I said, well, what is that? I've never done that before. And he goes, well, you've sold everything. You've sold your band. You sold and I said, okay. So I said, what do you do? He had 42 salespeople. He says, well, you talk to everybody. I said, okay. And he says, you go around this magical mile, right? You take them on a demo, then you come around and always pick a sign that says something that reminds you to ask them to buy. Well, there was a sign that always said fine food. And he always said, Stevie, when you get to that sign, it's always a fine time to ask these people to buy. So that's when I would ask everybody to buy. When I saw the fine food sign, I asked them to buy. Well, it's a numbers game, right? My first month, I sold 40 cars, made just under 30,000. My second month, I sold 44 cars and made just under that as well. So pushing 60,000 in 2 months, and every single sales guy is pissed off at me because I'm on their turf, right? They would rather show up, look good, and go smoke cigarettes and, on the back deal. And so, I said, Dad, everybody's pissed off at me. And he goes, that's good. it'll teach him something, right? So he calls me up to the tower one day after my second month, and he calls the finance manager up to the tower, and he says, "Kevin, you're fired." And I went, "God, that was awkward." And I said, "Dad, what's going on?" And he says, "Junior, to the finance department." So he goes, "Meet me in there." So I go in there, shut the door. He comes in, and I go, "Dad, what are you doing?" And he goes, "You're my new F&I guy." And I said, "What do you mean? I've never done this before." And he says, "You never sold cars before either, did you?" So I become his F&I guy. He teaches me everything I know. A year later, I hold the top penetration, which is the most percentage of warranties, LA&H, and everything, sealant and everything else on cars across this particular one warranty company that most people in the country sold. And I was number one in the nation. I was 20 at the time. So I win this big cruise and everything else. So then I come up with the idea that, well, how can I be that good when there's 1,000, 10,000 other F&I guys? There must be something. So Dad said, "Well, you should do a video." So I did this video in this nice home that was for sale. It was all staged, and I called it Steve Caldwell's The Plain Truth of F&I, and I got my CBS affiliate, who shot my commercials every week, to produce it. So they produced a 33-minute video, and we sold 150 or 200 of these at $100 a piece through a magazine because there was no internet. That's that. My dad retires. I moved to Seattle. I became national sales manager for Ford Motor Company as in charge of one particular division of theirs, where I was in charge of 68 stores nationally until about 1999. I was down in San Diego at the vice president's house for this big getting another award. He brought in Caesar's Palace. He did all this stuff. It was on the water. It was just beautiful. So I fly home. That's when the planes are supposed to fall out of the air, the millennium. And they didn't. I arrive home, and Monday morning I emailed Rob and I said, "Hey, what a great party you had. Thank you so much. By the way, I just saw something on the Today Show that said the division I was in charge of just filed for bankruptcy. Do I still have a job?" And he says, "I'll call you back." The next day I had a severance package. So I go to my dad's place. And I said, "Well, I guess I'm out of work." He had this curbing done around his lawn that looked like brick. And I said, "What the heck is this? I was just here a week ago." And I said, how long does it take to put in these bricks?" He goes, "Not bricks. It's this little machine that, extrudes this border, right?" And I said, "Wow, what did you pay for it?" And he said, "Well, the landscape company behind my house just got this to add to their landscape services. So they charged me, that's 1,100 feet. I said, "I know, I used to mow it all the time. You had a hell of a big yard." And he said, "Well, they charged me $2 a foot." I said, "How many feet?" 1,100 feet. I said, "That's $2,200. How long did it take to put it in?" And he said, "Well, it took them 2 days, one day to prep and one day to install it." I said, "Did they put a sign in your yard?" I said, "There's a sign in your yard." He goes, "Yeah, it was like a circus. Everybody stopped to see what they were doing. They were signing business all day long." And I said, so that night we go to pizza, and I jotted on a napkin, and I jotted curb appeal. And he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to take my severance package and start a concrete company with this machine." And he said, "Well, you've never done it before." I said, "Well, I've never sold cars or did F&I either. But it looks like, I'm done with the auto industry, and I want to just deal with happy people." So at the time, I moved to Portland, met Lori. By the way, we'll be married 20 years on the 21st next week. I meet her. So now we're together. And "What do you do?" I said, "Well, I'm doing this and starting this little company." So a friend of ours had a booth here at the Expo Center in Portland, Lawn and Garden Show. And he gave me this little 10 by 10 out of this huge, monstrous booth he had. So I had shirts made up. I had khakis and, doing all this other stuff, and really showed the part, right? Perception being reality. It looked like I've been doing this. I pulled a bunch of before and after pictures on the websites of other competitors, and I called it Curb Appeal. And we booked $45,000 worth of business in 3 days. And I had still yet to touch concrete in my life. I just needed to know if I could do it. So we're doing a show in Vegas one day. And it was for the World of Concrete. Lori and I did that every year. And this guy comes up and he says, "Well, I've got a machine that does this. I want to partner with you." So anyway, throw caution to the wind. I had my attorney draft an agreement while I was there. And again, these are lessons, right? These are lessons you learn about doing your own due diligence and so on and so forth. But turns out I partner with them, open up a production facility in California. I'm running it from here. It's all good. It sounds good on paper. We start delivering these $125,000 machines that do curb and gutter. We start delivering them to different parts of the country and Canada. Long story short is, a bunch of these are failing in the field, and people are screaming and wanting to sue and everything else. So the the whole time I've been doing this, I've been this absolute foodie nut. I've been in the kitchen since I was 5 years old. My number one show was The Galloping Gourmet, and Julia Child's my mentor. I always loved Graham Kerr and The Galloping Gourmet. His flamboyancy on stage, where he would take a 30-minute show and make a 3-course meal and then invite some lovely lady out of the audience, drink his wine, and cap the show off with, "That was delicious, and we'll see you on the next show," right? And that's always kind of how Lori and I, that's how we are in the kitchen, right? And always before COVID, always having big dinner parties and doing the same thing. So while we're doing all of, I'm doing some more international traveling with this partner of mine. We're doing some contracts, road contracts in Doha, Qatar, and Dubai, and in Bangalore, India, and Nanjing, China, and Rostov-on-Don, Russia. I'm all over the map, and I'm eating the craziest things while I'm on the road, delivering these machines. I'm eating the craziest things. I'm documenting them on my BlackBerry to make sure that I knew, the flavor profiles. I was getting it, and then I would recreate it for friends and family when I get back to the States. That was always kind of the friends were always asking, "Where's he at now? When are we going to have dinner? What's he going to make for us next time?" So that was always a fun deal. And anyway, didn't work out so well. I didn't realize that my partner had, he had a bottle problem. Sometimes I couldn't get a hold of him. I had to drive down to California one time to find him at a casino. Saw some machines that had been parted out that were supposed to be fixed and weren't fixed. In the midst of all of this, I decide that I'm going to go through the U.S. Commercial Services, which is part of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which helps small businesses open up doors in other countries. So I had so much response from Brazil, of all places, wanting our machines. But when we ran the NAICS codes, in order for me to ship one down there, it was going to be double what it would cost them. Like the tariffs were 100%. So I went to the USDA here in Portland, and they got in touch with the manufacturer of a like machine down there. Fast forward, we did a joint venture, and they started making our machines in Brazil, and it cost me less to import them here because there were no tariffs to import them, literally zero tax to do that. So we started that and got out from underneath this other gentleman. And when I was down there, for business outside of Sao Paulo, they had a catered dinner in my honor because I was heading to another show in Johannesburg. I thought it was my JV partner's wife that was going to make this dinner. She said at the last minute, she heard this radio advertisement. It was a company called Senor and Senora Batata, Mr. and Mrs. Potato. She said at the last minute, I don't know what I did, but I decided I'm going to call them. They were available. They came and started shredding potatoes in a pan, filling them with cheeses and meats, covering it, frying on both sides. When I tasted that, Yuval, it was one of these aha moments where I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my partner in the States. Shit's blowing up. There's a bunch of machines that are failing in the field. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm trying to get this company down there going to build machines so I can do business outside of the US and bring them back and everything else. And this is resonating. I can't get it out of my head. I come back here, tell Lori about it. She says, "Sounds like a stuffed hash brown." I said, "I know, but there's got to be some more roots to it than that." Passive searching on Google found out that it had Swiss roots, originated in the canton of Bern, Switzerland in the early 1800s as peasant food, and wives would shred them, and they were cheap, and they would sustain the men in the fields all day, and they would fill them with leftovers that they would hold over from supper the night before. And it would also bring friends and family around the table, as I always say, like it does to Lori and our kids and our friends and family today. But throughout all of this, I just didn't say, I'm done with the equipment, I'm going to start doing this. It took basically in 2016, 15, as it turns out, we got sued for over $2 million. Those machines failed in the field. I go to court, I'm being deposed, and they're saying, okay, this, and then I said, well, I don't know anything about that. I sell these, but, the engineer is the one that, my partner is the one that develops it. And so they said, well, give me his name and his information. We'll bring him up here and depose him and everything else. So long story short is, I get called back down to my attorney's office a week later. We found him. I said, fantastic. Let's get him up here and get him deposed. So I go down there and I said, where's he at? They said, well, we did find him. I said, where'd you find him? They said, well, we found him 6 feet under at the Cottonwood, California cemetery. I said, you're kidding me. And I literally was done. I was aghast, and I was like, I'm taking the rap for this. This is nuts. What it came down to was we lost everything. Our cars were repoed at the bus stop right out here where our kids were, getting into school. And we literally, I was telling him they were both going in for service and there's AAA recovery on the side of the cars. And I was paying his house payment when, I should have been paying my car payments, but I thought I just felt so sorry for this guy. I wanted to, help him out and everything else. And wake up the next morning and it was over. So we wake up and, Lori's like, well, what are we going to do? And I said, you know what? We've got our health, our house, and our kids. I said, I'm going to go get some potatoes. And she said, for what? We just lost everything. We can't afford anything. And I said, potatoes are cheap. I'm going to start making these things that we had. Remember that? And she goes, the Rosti thing? And I said, yeah. And she goes, we had no money to do that. I said, if everybody waited to have money, no business would get started. And I said, it's cheap. It doesn't cost anything to figure this out in the kitchen. So I start Googling and I find this Swiss chef online. And I've got all the time in my hands, right? We literally just lost everything. He literally opens up. And I think at the time he was 70 or 75 years old. I can hardly understand this guy because we were on a voice, connection. But he walked me through it. And he gave me exactly how to process potatoes, which, by the way, is 2 days. You just don't boil a potato, which is part of our IP, by the way. So I figured this out. And so I said, okay, I think we can do this. And so the next morning we get up and I said, okay, we got to get dressed. We got an appointment. She goes, with who? I said, the Oregon Food Bank. And she goes, what are we doing with them? And I said, we're going to go give back to the community. We're going to start feeding the homeless. And then we're going to use that as R&D in our kitchen. And she said, one thing we're missing here is we have no money. And I said, it's fine. It doesn't cost anything to, make potatoes and fill them with, just a little bit, to figure out how this is going to work. Fast forward a month, we are now partnered with the Oregon Food Bank. I'm now buying bags of potatoes at Cash and Carry, which is now US Foods. I'm buying them for, I think, 15 or 20 pound bags at a time for $5 or $6. And we're making these Rostis. We get the kids involved, Lizzie and Allie, Lori's and our kids together. So we partner with the Oregon Food Bank and we start feeding every Wednesday at this local place for at-risk teens that live on the streets here. And we would feed them at a kitchen at an Episcopal church downtown Portland every week. And we were making 200, 300, and 400 of these Rostis a week, filling them with different flavors, coming up with different profiles and seeing what that looked like. So as we're doing that, I get a call from Sarah Massoni at the Oregon State University Food Innovation Center. And she says to me, I hear you're trying to fill a potato. And I said, yes, I am. Who is this? And I didn't even know who she was. Long story short is she says, well, our team would like to help you develop and commercialize your Rosti. As we're doing, as we're feeding the homeless and we're creating flavors in our kitchen, I invite her and her whole team over and said, what do you think of this? She said, unbelievable. We want to help you. In May of 2018, and throughout all of this, Yuval, we still have no money. So that's when these scooters, are you familiar with these e-scooters that you can rent on the app on your phone and
Yep.
you can scoot around? That just hit Portland in October of 2018. So I said, you know what? I can pick up these scooters and I can charge them and I can make $5 to $15 a scooter. And so Lori's like, you're going to go pick up scooters? And we had this old beater Chevy Yukon. And I said, yeah, I'm going to do that. And she goes, okay. So I get I get the app. There was one called Skip. So I became a Skip Ranger. There was one called Lime. So I became a Lime Juicer. There was one called Bird, and I became a Bird Chaser. So I'm a Bird Chaser, a Lime Juicer, and a Skip Ranger. And I'm picking up, and I'm frantically, it's a numbers game, right? And everybody's like, so what are you doing now? I said, well, we're developing this product, but I've got to make money, right? And they're like, so you're picking up scooters, charging them at night, and then putting them out in the morning. I go, yeah. I mean, what's wrong with it? I said, I guess nothing. I couldn't pick them up till after 9 o'clock. It's pouring ass rain at night. I'm bringing in the most I had in this house, and we live in an old brownstone, on these hardwood floors, dripping water. I have 27 scooters plugged in everywhere in this house, right? Kids are typically already in bed, so they don't see all this craziness because I'm finally in the shower by 2 a.m. I leave my clothes out in the front entry, get into bed. I'm back up at 4 or 4:30 because I have to get them back out in all of these different places by 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. the next morning, or else I don't get paid, right? So I do this 7 days a week for 9 months to be able to feed my family, go to Trader Joe's and get $3 chucks. So we have something to celebrate, right? When we have something to celebrate, and develop this through all of this craziness and this, out of the flames and into the fire, and 3 goes in, 4 come out. I'm telling you that it was a moment in my life that I look back and, it just seemed like all these pieces, I couldn't have done it any other way. It just fell into place where we kept the family together. We're doing these scooters. We're building this product. Then we go into the Oregon Food Innovation Center, and they delay me. And I said, listen, I'll pay the $7,700. And they said, great. I said, but you got to shake my hand, because I said, that's $7,700 more than I have, Sarah, right now. But I promise you I will pay you. And she looked at me and she says, I believe you. I really do believe you. So she shakes my hand. We signed the contract, and it was open, pay me. And it was basically like whenever. So I said, but I have to be ready for your winter tasting event, December the 14th. So we go into ideation October the 16th. So literally less than 2 months later, I told her I need 5 flavors. I got shirts made. I got signs made. I act like we've been in the marketplace forever, right? Perception being reality. And we make it. Lori and I are in the kitchen there every single day, working with them right down the street in their commercial kitchen. I'm working with some amazing food science and chefs, and Sarah, she's putting the twist. She's a master of dairy and ice cream. So she's suggesting raclette and these different cheeses. And so we're all ready. We get to the winter tasting event. They're all handmade. They're not commercialized, right? And we get there, and where there's 50 food entrepreneurs and drink and ice cream, whoever was at the time making something there at the Oregon State program, are all there. The event ends at 7. 8 o'clock, line, everybody's gone. I didn't even notice. Everybody's gone, locked up. I have a line still in front of our table. And Sarah comes up to me. She goes, we've been closed for an hour, Steve. Can you wrap it up and follow up with these people tomorrow? I said, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's great. Let's do that. The next morning, I wake up at 5 o'clock, as I always do, come downstairs, get on my computer, and there's 2 vendor agreements from New Seasons and Market of Choice. John Boyle, VP of Market of Choice, and Chris Tersland, VP of New Seasons Market. And they're really well-known chains here in Portland, totaling 32 stores. They said, okay, sign up. And I'm like, so I emailed both of them and thanked them very much. And I said, guys, I have no idea where I'm going to make this. I mean, this just happened 8 weeks ago from a napkin. They said, we loved it. It's innovative, and you'll figure it out. We guarantee it. And we want you on our shelves first. So Lori and I then go to Fancy Food Show 4 weeks later, Incubator Village, 2019, pouring rain in San Francisco, upstairs, 24-inch booth, 750 handmade ones that Lori and I made, put them on dry ice, quartered them. We open up, corporate from Austin, Whole Foods walks up to us, tastes it. They all peel away. Alex Hickey, Kelly Landau, and Denise Braley, who is the local forager for Whole Foods, and the other 2 are global and national. 3 of them walked back up to me and Lori and said, it's the most innovative potato we've ever tasted. We're going to launch you immediately in the Pacific Northwest region, and you will be global in 2 years.
Wow.
And I went, I have no idea where I'm going to make this. And then true to form, we figured that out, got a little seed money. And I'm not going to say the rest is history, because even today we're in a raise, right?
Yeah.
It's, and that's the story to that date, Yuval.
Now, I've never heard that full story in the past. And I will say there's a lot to uncover there. But I thought I was a grinder. I thought that I had accomplished things in my life. I feel like a complete loser at this point, because I don't know about most people, but by the time I was 17, 18, I haven't accomplished much other than play some video games, chase after girls. That's just about it. And you were already driving. You probably got married, divorced 3 times. All of it just by the time you were 20. Man, that's an interesting life.
Sure.
You brought us to a point where we met around 2020.
Right. Exactly.
So that's a good segue. But I do want to go back for a second in terms of your siblings. Do you have a close relationship with them? Did they, what are they doing?
I'm not super close to them. There was a fallout after my dad passed, and there was just some things going on in my life at the time, and it was just one of these things. I love them. There's 4 of them, and none of them took on an entrepreneurial journey. They all went to college. They all found different, channels. Some went back to school late in life, become radiologists and things, and take care of their family. And I respect everything all of them have done. There was some hiccups in my life where, losing everything and I guess perceived embarrassment or what have you, that I water off my back. I mean, there were some things that, accusations and all kinds of things that just went on and on and on. God love my dad. I wasn't able to be there when he passed. And it was just one of these, it wasn't a great, I'm the first one to forgive and move on, and that, things happen. It's one of these things. I don't think I would have ever said this until this, these moments in life, these moments in life happen. But some of my closest family are not blood, right? Or do not have my DNA, and it comes down to, I don't know how you call it. I'm an A type. Nothing stops me. You can't tell me no. You've never been able to tell me no. I'll just find another way. Okay. Whether that's my birth date, October 28th, as a Scorpio, whatever. People, oh God, you lost everything. Oh my God, let's get the pity party around you. And I'm like, I don't want that. That's not the party I want to have. There was a reason for this, and I'm going to use it as an opportunity to follow my dreams, follow my food dreams at the age of 54 years old, 4 years ago. This wasn't 15 years ago. We lost everything in 2017, 2018. And to look at my wife in the eye and just tell her it's going to be fine, but it doesn't look great right now. We're going to be fine, but we're going to do this. And there's just, you figure out who your friends are. You can't file bankruptcy and not, have that circle around. And then, all of a sudden I'm like, hey, let's call, Dennis and see what he's doing. And I'm like, why don't your friends come around anymore? And this, I guess their perception was we had everything. And then when we had nothing, and there was one couple that stuck with, we were with them last night, by the way, Jen and Uwe. But I mean, it just brought me back to reality that, what, my faith first, absolutely, then my family. What we want to instill and what continue to instill in our kids, one word, empathy. We live in the city of Portland, tents everywhere and going all through this stuff. The bottom line is, until you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes, okay, I feel sorry for parts of my family, right? Okay, like you asked, back to my siblings, back to my blood, but I can't do anything about that, right? Yeah. I mean, I can only put myself in whatever that is. But my kids have always learned, that just remember that one word, and when you just say it out loud, life isn't really that hard. There's a lot of people a lot tougher, even if you've lost everything, right? I mean, I've told my kids to this day, and I honestly believe this, Yuval. Blindfold me, although I am afraid of heights, but I'm saying this, hypothetically. Blindfold me, drop me from a helicopter with a piece of ID, no phone, okay? And if it's cold out, give me warm clothes. If it's not cold out, I can wear whatever. In the morning, I'll have a job, okay? By the afternoon, I'll have something to eat. I'll have a place to stay, and somebody will loan me their phone to call and let everybody know I was fine.
Yep.
And I will start something. I will work somewhere. I'll bartend, whatever, even though I've never done it before. My dad always told me, look in the mirror, Stephen John. You can do whatever you want, okay? Anything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. And if you get that out of the equation, what else is there? I mean, nothing to it but to do it. One of my dad's salesmen told me that when I was 9 years old. I'm like, I don't know if I can park that car next to that. I think I'm going to hit that pole. And he goes, just park it up there, lift the hood, because that's the one we have for sale. I said, I don't know if I can do it. He said, there's nothing to it but to do it. Just do it. And if you hit something, then you won't do that again, or you'll figure it out. You just got to do it. And I've always, so people that know me closest, have always, I'm no different at a show, at a food show now, or anywhere else. I wake up every morning in expectation. I expect today to be better than yesterday. I just expect it. I expect the phone to ring and somebody would like to, either give me business or ask me to help them out on something, right? I live in expectation, Yuval, and it's truly a blessing that, you know, even what we're going through now, buying out my JV partner 6 months ago, rebranding, a lot of hiccups along the way. We can get into that if you want, but I mean, there's some things where like, wow, I if I had to do this over again, I wouldn't have done it like quite like that. But we're forging ahead. One of my guys I just brought on, Tom Garvey, and appointed him vice president of sales, 27 years director of sales for Unilever, 12 years president of ADW. This is talent that you can't write, you can write a book about. And he
Yeah.
saw us at Incubator Village. He comes up. Now he's vice president of ops, or vice president of sales for Rosti Stuft Spuds. You know what he said? You're Magoo. I said, what do you mean I'm a goo? And he says, dude, you have surrounded yourself with so much talent and all the things we're in with Crisp and with Promo Mass and everything else. I mean, that's what he means. He means, God, this Yuval guy and Crisp, all this, you've attracted all this because you recognize that you know what you don't know. You've admitted that all of your life. And I have. I know what I don't know. So I'm going to surround myself with people that know, right? So I can kind of shorten this, right? But he said, you're Magoo. You never look back. You
Yeah.
only look forward. And we pick up the shit along the way, right? But that's what we're here for. So
Yeah.
you do you.
If there was a picture in the dictionary of what a true entrepreneur is, your photo would be there. I mean, you and I are really similar in terms of expectation for the day, knowing that no matter what happens, you're getting up in a day and you're going to make shit happen. And it doesn't matter. Like, you cannot fail. There's no failure. So the way that
It's
I
not an
look at
option.
life, the way that I look at life is either I'm going to succeed or I'm going to die. Either way, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So one way or another, I'm either going to succeed or I'm going to die. But I'm not giving up on
Zero.
from that dream. I remember being 6 years old and just remember thinking, 6 years old, I'm going to do something big. The reality is, you and I and other entrepreneurs who are real entrepreneurs, not wantrepreneurs. We probably have a lot of wantrepreneurs listening right now. Mark Cuban coined that term. But those are the ones that have a bunch of ideas but never get their shit together and never do anything. Or they start and they dabble, but they never really become masters at it.
Right.
And I'm hoping that those that are listening who are entrepreneurs really listen to what you're saying and try to understand that that's what it takes. The loss after loss after loss, getting kicked in the nuts every single morning, and then getting up and getting kicked in the afternoon. And that's exactly what it takes. It's no different for you in your business, for me in my business. Let's go back just for one thing. When did you get married for the first time? And what happened in that relationship? Did you already have a business? Was it before your business? How did that transpire?
I'll give you her first name is Melissa, grade school sweetheart. I was always heavy. My dad had big bones. And so, and he always kept me, he got these shears, right? And he would cut my hair, and bald. Then he would cut my brother's hair, bald. And then he would clip my Mickey, the poodle, right? So it would always start with me, Michael, and then the poodle. And then we'd go off to school. Well, you could connect the dots on all the moles on my head. And I was always, 3 feet tall by 3 feet wide. And so 4th grade, we moved from Tacoma, from Holy Cross to St. Paul's. And this cute gal walked up to me one day, and I was eating lunch, and kids wouldn't come around me or either make fun of me, or, I was bullied until I found my height in 7th grade. Right. But I was always really heavy. And I had good friends, don't get me wrong, but there was always that crowd, even in Catholic school, maybe even more in a private school setting. I don't know. But I would find myself, crying myself to sleep, probably eating a candy bar or a ice cream cone or something, or sneaking, the peanut butter jar into my bedroom. But it was just one of these things where I always had a weight problem. And she would come up to me, and she'd be the only one that talked to me. And so anyway, I 7th grade, I shoot straight up, and now I have the band, and now I'm feathering my hair like David Cassidy in the Partridge Family. And I think I'm looking a little bit better than I did in myself. And long story short, she became my high school, my sweetheart. I never went out with really anybody else. Then, we broke up. I went on the road, came back, and reconnected when I was at my dad's dealership, and we got married. We got married in 1986.
And you were how old?
And I was 86. I had just turned 20. Wasn't 21 yet.
So very young. Got it.
Yeah, very young. But see, I had 3 rental homes that I paid 17, 26, and 44, respectively, from the money I got on the road that I would send home to my dad. And so I'm basically a slumlord or a landlord for these 3 homes in Yakima. And then I'm selling cars, and I'm this finance manager. And I'm making, on my 20th year, before I turned 21, my whole year, a 12-month income, I made $126,000. Her father was a truck driver. Her brother was a truck driver. Her dad had like 3 surgeries, back surgeries, because he was a long haul truck driver all the time. But one day, her parents, we had been married, I don't know, a year and a half. And one day they wanted to have me over for dinner at a family meeting. And they literally looked at me and said, "We saw your tax returns." And I said, "Yeah. Okay." And they said, "We think there's more going on than just the car business. Are you selling drugs?" And I went, "What?" I said, "Are you kidding me? I make as much as I want. I mean, I work 6 hours or 6 days a week, 15 hours a day, but we have these rental homes. We have this house. We just remodeled. I'm 20 years old. I've got a 760 Beacon score, credit score, right? I could drive whatever I want. So I'm driving the nicest cars right off the truck." I said, "My life's good. What is the deal?" They said, "We're just not buying it. That people in your industry make that kind of money." And it became this. And I'm like, "You're kidding me." And I literally married her. She had never, until we got married, she didn't move into my house until after we got back from the honeymoon, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So she was staunch Catholic. And so anyway, we became, we got a divorce 2 years later. It just wasn't working out. I said, "I can't keep doing this. I can't, I don't know what else to do." I felt like I was 10 years older than she, just in life experiences, right? I tell people sometimes I've lived a lot of lives, right?
You have, yes.
So that was my first wife, no kids. And then, so I was in the car business in Seattle. I got introduced to my second wife, who I have 3 kids with, beautiful children. Colton, my oldest son, then Lana, my oldest daughter, and then Cassie, my second to the oldest daughter, who are 30, 29, and 28 right now. And then, we were married for 3.5 years, 3 kids, a year apart. And then there was just there was a lot going on there too. And I won't get into it. It was, I'll just sum it up as abusive. And so I finally had to leave. I mean, it was towards me, not me being the instigator. It was just not good. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Had a big home at the base of Mount Rainier, indoor swimming pool. I guess I'm at the time 26 now, 5 acres. It was unbelievable. But still, I mean, it's material, right? There is no substitute for my mental health and well-being. I'm showing up with black eyes as I'm running dealerships nationally. And I had to say, I got in the car, I had a fender bender and I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. And, it just kept compounding and compounding. And the dealer's like, "This, come into my office." I don't buy it. And I'm like, "I'm working it out. Okay." I go, I really have to leave. It's too much. So I leave these 3 kids, crying, right? And a lot happened. A lot of stuff, and a whole nother conversation to unpack. But my second time, 5 years never dated, moved to Portland, and that's when I pick up on the story where I got my severance package after being at the Millennial Party with Rob Milam, the VP of Ford, and long story short is that I didn't date for 5 years. I'm running the yacht manager at the Sea Ray dealership here. I love boats. I said, I'm gonna go get a job. I'm gonna get this job. And I showed up and I go, "I'm here for this job." And they go, "Well, we got a lot of applicants." And I'm like, No. You're gonna hire me because I love boats and I need this job. And I just moved here, so you're gonna hire me. And they're like, "Well, we got a bunch of interviews." And I said, "I'll wait." So I come back the next week with my khakis on and my white polo shirt and my blue blazer. And I said, "Now am I the part?" And they're like, "God, what's up with you?" I said, I'm going to sell more boats. You ever sold boats? I've never sold boats. But I said, I love boats. So I go to work. They hire me. They said, "Okay, Jesus, we're going to hire you." I said, I have 3 kids I'm supporting. I don't date. I'm focused. So a buddy of mine says, oh, you should go on Match.com. I get a different date every night. And I said, that's why I'm not on Match.com. I don't have any motivation to do that. And so about 6 months into this, and I had I'm reading Sea Ray Living magazines when no boats are selling and it's pouring down rain in the middle of the winter here. And Sea Ray Living, always Sea Ray boats have these rendezvous that dealerships do with their customers to get them out on the water, get everybody together, right? So I said to the owner, I said, hey, I want to do this. I want to set this up and go to the San Juan Islands in Washington and do all this stuff for like 7 or 8 days. And he said, I hate boats. I'm 3rd generation. If you want to do that, here's my credit card. Figure it out. So I had meetings every month. I appointed a captain. I got Sea Ray Living magazine to fly up from Chicago. They did a whole story. But 2 months before that, I do Match.com. I wouldn't meet any girls. I put a picture of me and my 3 kids, said package deal or whatever the hell I said in Portland. And my first 9 dates, I would never go out at night. Again, not my motivation. I would only see them for coffee. Every single time, 9 times in a row. At the end of the hour, you know what they said?
Huh.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I really can get back out there and do it. And I said, you go, you can do this. And I felt like Dr. Phil. And so after this, I'm like, I told my aunt, and she goes, what are you, a psychologist? I said, I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting across, but all 9 people said, God, I just feel so much better now. I can get out there. I go for it. You can do anything. And then I get this picture. It turns out to be Lori, captain's hat, sitting in the 747 of Northwest Airlines. And I go, and she's texting me, no kids, never been married. And she sees mine. She goes, God, so cute. Long story short is 4th of July, 2002, blind date, Starbucks, Washington Square Mall. I'm supposed to be at my aunt's for a barbecue. It's 4th of July. And I said, I'll be back in an hour. I left my phone in the car. Okay. As a good, nice gentleman. I didn't realize 4.5 hours went by. And I'm like, I finally looked at the clock and I'm like, holy shit, it's 3:30. I got a barbecue. I'm supposed to be catered right now. I said, have you got any plans? She goes, no, I got no plans. And I said, what about, are you a captain of the airline? She goes, oh no. She says, remember Marsh, the Twin Towers that went down? I go, yeah. She goes, I was one of the executives here at Marsh, here in Portland. And she goes, and when that went down, the office closed. I got a severance. I was there 13 years as an executive in insurance. And I go, oh, wow. I said, so why the captains? She goes, when you get on an airplane, like when you're going to Hawaii and the captain asks you if you want to sit in the cockpit and get a picture taken. And I go, babe, no, that doesn't happen to me. They said, find your frickin' seat. I can see why he wanted you in the captain's seat. Anyway, we were engaged 18 days later. At the end of July, she goes on this cruise that I set up for Sea Ray up in the San Juan Islands. There's a whole article done on us at the December of 2022 Sea Ray Living magazine called Northern Exposure. The whole story about Lori and I, how we met. And we're engaged 3 weeks later. We got married December 21st, 3 months later. And that'll be 20 years next month. She's my best friend, amazing mother, empathy like crazy. You know who she is. Everybody should get to know somebody that's an angel.
She's an incredible human being, and the love and support that she has for you.
Unbelievable.
From the little that I know of her, and I've seen her only a couple of times. So you got the kids because of the abuse. So you got full custody. Is that what happened?
I didn't get full custody. And that's the other thing. That's a whole nother story. In the county that I got divorced in, I used to say this, and this was told to me by the opposing counsel. They would say, in this county, the mother can show up with a needle in one arm and a drink in the other and a cigarette in her mouth and get custody of the kids. That's just the way it is. Lori was pregnant with Allie. We were going up there, had incredible attorneys, incredible private investigators, incredible footage, incredible arrests, incredible all this other stuff. Didn't matter.
Wow.
But to this day, it was, you'll never see him again, until they're 18. And I said, guess what's going to happen? But I'll see him for the rest of their life. And they all live right here.
Wow, that's incredible. All right, let's actually tell because now we know how you met everybody else in your life. Let's talk about how we first met. So when you and I first met, you sent me a LinkedIn message, okay, with a YouTube video. The first frame had a disclaimer. Now, granted, this is, well, I'll tell you when this is. You guys will note based on the disclaimer. Disclaimer went like this. Big words, disclaimer. Everyone involved in the filming of this video practiced social distancing and wore masks. The roof scene, although you're afraid of heights, included only our children, son-in-law, and safe neighbor circle. We are professional lovers of Rostis. We want you to try all of our Rostis flavors at home safely. We want you to tell your friends and family to try them safely as well. And then the disclaimer fades to a shot that you were in. You had a shirt and a tie, a little disheveled, but yeah, you had a shirt and a tie, sitting at your desk, a white orchid to their side, I think to your right. And the background, I just want people to understand how clever you are. The background, there was a bunch of toilet paper, tissues,
Lysol.
Clorox, right? Clorox wipes, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head.
That's right.
And 3 Rosti flavors that you had at that time. Well done, my friend. Well done. And the first words that came out of your mouth were, "Hi, I'm Stephen, co-founder of Rosti. What is a Rosti?" And then you went on to explain the product. I've never heard of what a Rosti is. You explained what a Rosti is. There's about 5 or 6 different definitions of what a Rosti is. I guess everybody can understand the timing. We're talking about May of 2020. Okay?
Oh my God.
You just started your business a year prior?
Not even a year.
Not even a year.
We hit shelves 9 months before.
9 months before.
Everything shut down.
A product like yours will die on the shelf without demos or an experience of that sort. You can't just put a frozen product with 3 SKUs on sale and expect anything to happen. Right. So now you, a man of many talents and the discipline, to say the least, of just a true grinding entrepreneur, went out and started becoming innovative. At this point, I just lost with Promo Mash 80% of my business because our business initially was all about demos. So we were working with brands who were demoing events, merchandising, et cetera, and helping them manage those events. So scheduling, reporting, analysis, and all that stuff. We were doing really, really well. We were going 3 triple digits every year since we launched, in 2015, and then lost 80% of our business because, when there's no demos, there's no, business.
Exactly.
So I want to start kind of the conversation there. And I want to understand, your mindset, your kids' mindsets, your wife's mindset, because not only are you starting a business in CPG in the frozen space, which is probably the most difficult place to be. COVID just came about. I experienced in 2008, my first Black Swan event, which was not fun. I lost my business. I lost retail. I didn't know how to handle it, but that experience actually allowed me to survive COVID, my second. But this was pretty much your first, real Black Swan event. First of all, give me the final definition of a Rosti, because I know you've been updating it. There's like 4 or 5 definitions. Like you have a video like asking your wife, "What's a Rosti?" Asking your daughter, "What's a Rosti?" Your neighbor's telling you what a Rosti is. So what is a Rosti? What was your mindset during the time that we first met?
Yep.
Another calamity, maybe the fear of losing it all again, so quickly.
Oh my God.
Your wife, her support or lack of, I don't know. We'll see what that brings up. It couldn't have been easy. I'm sure many nights of fear and crying and sitting in the bathroom with your thumb in your mouth, in fetal position, like, a lot of people, including myself at that point. What did you learn? Tell me that story. But start off with, what is a Rosti?
A Rosti is basically a stuffed hash brown. So just picture the crispiest with the right amount of salt and butter or oil of a hash brown. And what do I do anytime I go into a restaurant and I order hash browns? Get them extra crispy, please, right?
My wife too.
So, exactly. So a Rosti is like an oversized tater tot or a stuffed hash brown with cheese inside. So it's that crispy deliciousness, shredded, crispy deliciousness on the outside with that surprise inside. So when you bite into it or cut into it, you hear the crunch, you get that crisp, and then you get that explosion of flavor in the different flavors that we've put together. Currently in retail, we've got Melty 3 cheese, which is Parmesan mozzarella and cheddar, which is absolutely to die for. It's the cheese and the potato. I mean, that's what it is. Then we have a twice baked potato, or that loaded baked potato with all the usual suspects: cream cheese, sour cream, chives, and a nice coarse cracked pepper finish. And then the one that rounds it out is what I refer to as the classic, is raclette. And if you've never had raclette, you can't untaste raclette. You can't
Correct.
cross back over. Okay. We import it from Switzerland. It's a little tough. It's quite spendy. But we keep it in the Pacific Northwest region, and I believe Fresh Time, we just signed with them, and they have it on their shelves, but not a lot. It's a spendy one, but and then we've gone into food service now, and we're launching into club, and a lot of things going on. So that's what a Rosti is. It's a stuffed hash brown that'll either sit on your plate, or you can grab it as a handheld, bite into it, and it's the best crispy hash brown you've ever had, with cheese melting on the inside, and it's absolutely delicious.
I like your daughter's definition. It's a big stuffed tater tot.
That's what it is. Okay, it's a stuffed tater tot.
It's a big
Boom.
stuffed tater tot.
Big stuffed tater tot. Remember when I asked her, what were you eating last year? Hot dogs.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
are you eating this year? Rostis.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave the video link, the one that I saw initially from
great.
2 years ago,
Perfect. You'll see that. Yeah.
in the show notes. Definitely watch it. All right, so let's go to the hard stuff.
Sure.
Mindset, fear, what's going on, what's happening, because we really want to understand the mindset of what it means to start a business in CPG
Yep.
and what it takes to get through a difficult spot.
Sure. Well, we hit shelves. It was, from what I'm told, this is my first time ever doing this, but we went from a napkin to on shelf in 264 stores in 9 months. Literally
Incredible.
from a napkin,
Incredible.
October of 2018, where we hit shelves August 15th, 2019. So COVID hits. We just come out of Fancy Food, our second winter Fancy Food show. And we're starting to do this. And again, we're getting more traction and more stores and everything else. And we're putting in our production forecast. And then COVID hits. And Lori's like, nobody can go to the store. I mean, you can only go between these times. Only one person, have to have the mask on. And we've got shields and all kinds of stuff. And I said, we got to get creative. We have to blow up our social media. So I just start writing, because I like to think I'm kind of funny, or I'm creative. Okay. So I start writing the script, and my next door neighbor, Eric, is a lead camera for ESPN Sports and all of the Olympics and everything else. So I texted him and I said, hey, you remember you had your own pods, or your own, what did you call them? Your own, people you hung out with.
Yeah.
Only them. And it could be your neighbor, your next door neighbor. But we made it a point that their kids and our kids would stick together, and we would just spend time together. Well,
Yeah.
So I put him behind the camera, and I wrote this whole script, and that was his son that said, have you ever had a Rosti? No.
Yeah.
What do you think? I love it.
I love it, yes.
All this stuff went on, and I start just firing these videos out on social media. We do the rooftop thing. I think we coined, I forget the name of that song, but we changed it to make it Rosti. And I just said we need to keep, we just need to keep blasting this out, and getting social media with it, because there's really nothing else we can do. And we're all home, right? And so we did we did a spoof on The Office. We did that one that you're talking about, which was so fun. But it was really just, if you think about not making it, for more than 5 minutes, I mean, you'll go under, right? We switched it around and said, we need to have fun. The kids are homeschooled, and all the rooms upstairs are all on the different laptops or different classes, and trying to get them up in the morning and get them motivated. And then I'm making these videos with them, and running a company, and Lori and I are trying to figure this out. But it's really, everybody's on their phone. So let's figure out how to keep this, this train rolling down the tracks. And we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how long it's going to, we all assumed, it's going to be back next week, right? We'll be back next week. But I guess that's part of the thing about, maybe that just kept driving me, because I didn't realize we would be down for a year and a half. And people started going to the frozen section, and stocking up. And blessed to say that we had, after about 3 or 4 months of just doing these videos and talking to people and on blogs and social media, and kids, tell your friends and tell your family and tell them and this and this and this, and, dropping off samples at doorsteps, on dry ice, and then running away and then texting them, okay, your samples are here. Let me know what you think. And, we were just doing whatever it took to get the word out, because you're right. In-store demos, every single time we show up for a 4-hour in-store demo, Lori and I were in Seattle all weekend. We did a big event for them up there, and we show up with samples. They have their samples that they increase there by 20%, and we sell the whole store out in 2 hours.
Yep, I believe it. Yeah,
it was tough.
And how was the support coming from a very destructive marriage? Now you're in a good one. Was the support there? Or did you guys have issues? Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs during difficult times, myself included, with my wife. I was about to lose my wife in my marriage during the time that literally I was $1 million in debt. I was overweight, my health, my spirituality, like the whole thing was just falling down, in a spiral that I just could not control.
Right.
And that transpires because of so much pressure.
Yes.
And so
Huge
much
pressure.
going on, right? During
Huge
those
pressure.
times. How was that? And how did you overcome it? Because obviously you're not divorced. So you're still with Lori.
Exactly.
So how did you overcome it?
I'm going to tell you, on the flip side, I'd already been through 2 divorces. I guess my assumption was that this is going to be a tough road. Okay. And I just woke up one morning, and I think it was what I was saying to her when we lost everything. And she said, what are we going to do? You're going to have to get a job. I'm going to have to go back to work. I said, babe, we're going to do this. I wake up and she's like, just keep doing what you're doing. People love these. We just need to get more and more people. And she says, get on camera, do this, get on, and I'm like, okay. And the kids were behind it. We're doing events at their school, virtual events. We did a couple of auctions where we gave away a year's supply of Rostis and got more engagement than people were buying them. It was absolutely a partnership. It was a true partnership. And to this day, like people look at us and go, it wasn't just manufactured. But I could have never met her had I not gone through what I went through. You follow me? I would have never met her had I not lost my first wife, who thought I was a drug dealer in the car business, who I had not lost my second wife, who was hugely abusive, and I have 3 kids. I would have never met her. Everything was orchestrated in my life, all the shit that I went through and all the stuff that happened, to put me in a place where I could receive that connection, right? And she could receive me, so when we started this and we got married, and, there's ups and downs, but I mean, when we did this company, and she knew that, before COVID hit, how much success we were having just in the eyes of people tasting it, she was like, I'm all in. What can we do? What can we do? What can the kids do? What can the kids do? And it was 1,000% Yuval. But like I said, I've made it and lost it. I was through 2 marriages. I've been in the worst, darkest alleys of my life. Exactly where you were at $1 million in debt and all this other stuff. I just happen to be blessed at this one. And I'm not a proponent of, go have 2 shitty relationships, get divorced and find your third one. Right. That was never the motivation. It just, I was the song, God Bless the Broken Road. I mean, my God, I always say this, and I'm a believer. I mean, I say the same thing every morning. I say the prayer of Jabez, and I say, you send an angel from heaven that I'll love and cherish all the rest of my days. And I just say, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for today. Thank you for my wife. Thank you for my family. Just thank you, because I can do this and I can do it even better with them.
Yeah. It's funny. The whole show is all about 7 hats. My theory is that there are 7 categories in your life that are super important for entrepreneurs, or just anybody, to find fulfillment and success. And the first 3 are the soul, the athlete, and the servant. The 4th one is the entrepreneur. So the soul is all about self-love, self-care, mindset. The second is the athlete, health and nutrition and sleep and fitness, right? Mm-hmm. And the servant is relationships with others. So while hat number 1 is the relationship with yourself, hat number 3 is the relationship with others. And the funny thing is, and it's not actually funny, it's on purpose, the 3 most important hats are before the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur was not hat number one. And the reason being is because we focus as entrepreneurs, and this is why we get into trouble. We focus on being the entrepreneur first.
Yeah.
And we don't pay attention to the soul, the athlete, the servant. We don't pay attention to these aspects. And I would add another one, which is probably the most important, the seeker, which is spiritual, the higher, your higher self, right? Mm-hmm. So you have those four hats that without them, you're toast. You cannot do well in business unless you have the mindset, the energy, the support, and your faith in a higher self. Some sort of faith, right?
Right.
And that's your life. You've proven that. No matter what happens, you had something to go and lean back on. Your self-love and self-worth and the ability to get up and have the energy. You had relationship with, God as an example, when you needed, him most.
Yep.
When you had a great relationship with others, that helped you through those difficult times. So there's so much here that I think is so valuable to entrepreneurs who are listening, who maybe are younger, who just started out. Don't make the same mistakes that we did, because we've made the mistake of focusing everything into our business and getting burnt out and crushed in that respect, which then led to an issue with everything else and everyone else in our lives. But instead now we're focusing on the other aspects of our lives that's helping our business. So we've learned, and I think that's the beauty of it,
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, throughout all of this, I was given a book by a very close friend of mine named Arnie. And I was never a reader. I just, the time it took, like I've never taken a nap, okay, unless I was just ill, like sick. And I just needed to find the time to close my eyes because I was sick, which is very rare. But I've never napped. I have this, and I don't know what it is, but it's this guilt feeling that I'm going to miss something during the time that I'm up, that the sun's up, right?
Yeah.
And so I've never been a napper, and I've never been a reader. And about 5 years ago, I started reading, and in 1 year, I read 57 books. The top book, the number one book that was given to me first by this gentleman by the name of Arnie was The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. Are you familiar with Andy Andrews?
I am not. I'm going to look him up.
The Traveler's Gift. I would suggest, I had every one of my kids read it. Lori read it. Anybody that I can get in front of them, and I'm not here just to promote, I don't even know Andy, but it was one of these things. You talk about entrepreneur, you talk about losing everything, you talk about everything. You know what it brings? One word: perspective. It's all about perspective.
Yep.
And if anybody gets something out of, God, we had a lot of the same. We've been on the same road, Yuval.
We've been on the same road, yes.
Yeah, and the more I talk to you, and I've talked to more about you, not in front of you, in the last 3 years than I've talked about you in front of you. Because I knew there was a connection when I first met you, and it's no mystery. We're engaged now in business.
Yes.
And now with the intro I made to you and Chris, and out of the blue, all of a sudden, go shocker. Two amazing companies that I've always wanted to work with partner together. That's no mystery. That was released, and congratulations, by the way. But all about I truly believe it. It's all about perspective and where you take what you've learned and where you're going. And but I would strongly suggest that book.
I will say, now that you mentioned it, there are no accidents, and many things must happen in order to create the current situation that we're in. We've kept in touch. You were definitely not ready for Promo Mash. And, I never pushed. I never asked you. I never pushed you. I never asked you even once for your business, because I knew that, if I was there for you, that one day you're going to get to be, at a certain level that you're going to need, my services and hopefully, I'd be able to help. And that just recently happened. But really, the gift that you gave me, which, is just incredible, was an introduction to Samantha Shend, who is the VP of sales for Crisp. And Crisp is a data company that really completed us. And, we were a platform that it was just like any other platform. I mean, I can say it's better and it's got different features and blah, 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 blah. But in essence, you can get the same type of services with other platforms, and we had competitors. But when you introduced me to Samantha and you said, wait a second, I see a partnership here because I love Crisp and I use their data, but I can't plan on that platform. I can't understand how that data affects my promotions and my activity in retail. And you made that introduction. And I got to be honest with you, I think you changed the trajectory of both of our companies because it's just an incredible, it's just an incredible partnership. And what we've done since then, no one can compete, because we have an exclusive
Not at all.
to get data into a platform for, for CPG brands, largest spend. And so I thank you for that. But more importantly, I thank you for your friendship, and I thank you for everything. It's just, we've just been on this crazy journey on LinkedIn, and it was just incredible. And I speak of you all the time, and I'm a huge fan, a huge fan of who you are, a huge fan of your product. It's unreplicable. Like, you can't make it. Like, if I tried to make a Rosti, it'd be a smashed potato. I mean, like, what you did was incredible. I'm lucky that my, the Whole Foods at Sedona has your product, so I can purchase it. A couple more things, because we can talk forever, and I, I'm not Joe Rogan yet. I probably can't keep the attention of my listeners for 5 hours, maybe in a little bit, but we're getting to a point as interesting as this is, they got other things to do, other shit to do. So I do want to mention one thing. In the video that I've seen, you had a photo of Grandma Stina with 8 or 9 kids, a couple of adults holding their hand up, and you asked, who is it? Anyway, you got to watch the video. Who is Grandma Stina? Were the kids related to her? Are they real kids? Are they actors? Tell me about that photo, because I just always had a question. Never got a chance to ask you.
I came up with that name first, and I said, I need to take the roots back. And you saw it was all one take, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't want to give anything away, but click on the link, please, you guys, and watch the video, because one of the funnest ones I've ever made. There's several on YouTube that you can find, but that is really a fun one. And I didn't think that I didn't think it was going to go this way to talk about this video. So thank you. And I'm going to watch it again because I haven't seen it in a long time. But I came up with Grandma Stina first. And then I start searching for a photo from Sweden, or Switzerland, I should say, from Swiss, of a family with grandma that I would call Stina or Stina, with the umlaut, like Rosti, right, with the umlaut. And I think I asked the question because I had to write it in reverse, right? I had to write it so it would then make sense. So when I wrote it, I said something to the effect of, and then like Grandma Stina, and she asked, who wants a Rosti? And then you saw this picture, and then Eric panned, and everybody's got their hand up, and I said, well, I guess you can take it from there, or something like that. And then we get in the car and we go to Fred Meyer, and I'm, my wine guy's there, and oh my
I love
God.
The wine guy. Well, I till this day, until now, I thought that was your grandma with 17 kids. It was incredible.
Good Catholic family.
Yeah, exactly. It just perfectly fit the narrative. 3 more questions, and then we go. What is the one habit that got you here today?
The love of food and sharing it, putting smiles on people's faces. My number one passion in life throughout my whole life, regardless of what I did and lost and made it and whatever, was making a meal and putting a smile on somebody else's face. I have always, literally, I just got goosebumps. There's nothing next to, being with my wife and my kids and everything else. But you asked me that question, is putting a smile on somebody's face, creating something that I so love, and making a dish that's purely true love, and then creating something that's never been done before, which I do now with the Rosti.
Ask my wife. You and I are brothers from another mother. Guaranteed.
Okay.
All right. So in the video, you said the following: I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train is going places. And I agree. You know, the love, the dedication that you put into each Rosti, and you know, your business is infectious. I really believe that you have a shot at the top of the CPG pyramid. You know, so keep on going, my friend. Keep on going.
Thank you.
I'm here to support you.
Thank
Everyone
you.
is here to support you because you know what? At the end, you're a good guy. You get up in the morning, get kicked in the nuts, you get up and again, and you make your Rosti and you're making people smile. So the last question that I have for you, I like to close out my interviews with the following question.
Mm-hmm.
Who did you have to stop being, and who did you need to become to manifest your current success?
I had to stop being, I'm going to say this, but I'm going to preface it, the dreamer, meaning that I was doing because I believed I could do 3 or 4 things at a time, okay, to support my family. And I could do this. And then somebody needed my help here, and I was going to help them. And then I want to help them. And then it started to cross over into the food where we were getting samples almost every week because somebody at a show said, "Hey, would you taste this?" And I would say, "Well, yeah, it sounds great. And I think I can put you in touch with somebody." Well, you say that 10 times. And you're telling that to people who there's only one of them, right? But I'm saying this to 10 people. And because I genuinely want to help them. And Lori came to me and said, you know, this is going to affect our business if you keep trying to help everybody else. Okay. At some point, and at the top of the apex, the apogee, like my band was called back when I was 11, whatever, that pyramid of the CPG, we do have an exit strategy and we do want to use that time and we will. And my whole goal is to help other people in this space and not give them a hand out, but give them a hand up and use what you and I have already been through, the pitfalls and the mistakes and the learning that maybe could put them on a map on some level. But that's where we're going. So that's what I'm not doing today. I thank them. They come up to me all the time. I get calls, I get emails, and I just say, you know what? I wish you well. Here's a couple of pointers, and think innovation and think best, and just work hard and put love into it, and you can't go wrong with that. But that's where I've stopped. So I've taken all these different channels. And I've rechanneled, and it was all Lori. She is. I'm the visionary. She is the voice of reason that says we are onto something. So let's just bring it in. There's a lot of fun people that you can meet still that we can have a lot of fun with. But let's do us, right? I calculated this a year ago, and in one of the books by Andy Andrews, I found out that I'm a noticer and I'm a connector. Okay, because there's this test that you do, right? So I'm not just saying that. I noticed you. I connected you, okay, with Samantha. That's just an example. I love to do that. I see stuff that I honestly believe other people don't see, and it just comes to me. And I'll literally stop in the middle of a conversation and I go, those two should be together. Or I see something at a show and I go, why isn't anybody seeing this? And Lori's like, uh-oh, whoop, 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 rein it in. But anyway, I calculated this a year ago, this Christmas, that I'm in the kitchen making handmade Rostis, over 21,000 hours that I have physically made Rostis since 2015, end of 2014. And so, what do they say? I mean, 10,000 hours, 10,000. Right?
Oh, you killed that. Yeah.
But the thing about it is that it's not me, it's everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody can do what they want to do if they put their mind to it and commit and understand that it's not going to be easy. Nothing is easy. We're in a fundraise today to be able to support tomorrow. Okay. I mean, there's just things that, it just is what it is. But, as stressful as that is, like, we got to be able to pay our bills. We got to be able to do this. You and I have conversations like this all the time, intimate conversations. But that's just the reality of it. But you know what I say? We'll get it.
Yeah.
We'll get it.
Listen, wise words. Incredible, incredible journey that you have. So many lessons, so many opportunities to become better every single day. You and I share that, but a lot of people that are listening share that as well.
Absolutely,
you're hope and inspiration to many. And I wish only for the best for you, your family, your wonderful family, and of
Thank
course
you.
the Rosti.
Thank you.
If you don't make it, there won't be a Rosti, and that's not a good thing.
And now it's Rosti Stuft Spuds. So there's
I love,
Stuffed
the
Spuds.
rebranding. Yeah, the rebranding, which is great. So tell the Seven Hatters what you're doing. You're fundraising. Where can they get in touch with you? Are you doing a raise with, a crowdsourcing raise? Are you doing a VC raise? How could they help? Just want to get people in touch with you.
What we did since we acquired a company back, which is no big mystery, it was announced in a PR press release last May. We opened up June 1 under Rosti Stuft Spuds. We rebranded it because we took it more mainstream. Everybody loves potatoes and cheese, and educating people what a Swiss Rosti is, it takes a minute and 26 seconds in the best case. Now we reshot in the studio. Now the Rosti Stuft Spuds, you see exactly what they are, right? 5 by 5, 5 feet, 5 seconds. You know what they are.
Yep.
And so we've done that. I created a food service, grab and go, so a smaller one, 40 gram, 1.41 ounce, filled with cheese. Now we have in food service, we have a ham and cheese, or ham and Swiss and jalapeno. And so we did a successful LTO, an 8-week limited time offer at a large division of one of the largest convenience stores in the country. We exceeded our forecast by over 400%, which proved out that grab and go for stuffed hash browns in the morning with cheese in it is a hit. Everything I always knew or felt I knew. And then I brought Tom Garvey on, who's president of ADW for 12 years, which is the line of Costco's. Yeah. So you see it first. This is what's going on shelf in the Texas region in February.
When are you getting into Costco in Arizona?
That will be. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Tom is working with our broker, Gobo, which is an amazing team. And they share the corporate parking lot with the corporate Costco, and they're one of their top exclusive brokers, and they're amazing. But Canada wants us. We've already passed all the cheese, tariffs and stuff. And so, just safe to say that we'll start in Texas, and it won't be soon after. Meaning, over the course of the next year, that we'll be in more regions.
Tom, get it in. Tom, get it in Arizona, please. Do me a favor.
Well, right? And with all of this, with the forecasting, everything else that we're doing this first part of the year, it just takes money. So we're currently, we've had a couple of VCs who've been with us since Incubator Village 4 years ago. 2 of them are both based in the Bay Area. Amazing people. They see us at the show every single time. When you're ready, we want to do your series. When you're ready, we want to do your series. I met with one of them in Expo East and said, I think you're going to be ready in about a year. But right now we're looking for between right at that 1 to 1.5 million to fund inventory as well as our social media platform. And it isn't announced yet, but it will be. But we just partnered with the largest, most successful media company in the country. And our social and everything else will be blowing up. And of course, everybody says, oh my God, we don't have the money. Guess what? We can't afford not to put these pieces in place. Promo Mash, Crisp, this company, you'll see a big PR launch release. They've literally taken incubated products to billion-dollar exits. We are on the same trajectory. We are now in a fundraise. It's not I'm not going to say it's not crowdsourcing and it's not VC. It is. We're looking for minimums of 250, and we're looking at either a safe or a convertible. But it's everything's negotiable. We are just on that road, prepping for our series. We're currently at a valuation of 10 million, and we're looking to be this time next year in the neighborhood of 25 to 30, if not more. And it just takes money to get there, and that's what we're going to use it for. And that's the exciting part about it.
Yeah, well, I don't really ask the Seven Hatters much, but I will ask a couple of things. Number one, go out to your local retailer and buy some Swiss Rosti. Number one, if they don't carry it, ask for it, right? Because that goes a long way.
Thank you. It does.
Stephen is a emerging brand. Everything's on the line, and every single person that buys even one package helps out more than you know.
Thank you. Absolutely.
The other thing is, if you know anyone or you have some money stashed away, you're not going to get the same interest rates that you will with this guy, going through. So either, if there's anyone that can invest, or maybe you guys, one of you can invest, get in touch with Stephen. Stephen, I love you, brother. You're awesome.
I love
You're
you too,
incredible.
Yuval. Thank you.
And we're on a rocket ship, both of us, and
I know. I'm so excited for you.
We're not Vanderbilt, but we're going places.
But we're going places.
Thank you for gracing us on the Seven Hats, Stephen.
Thank you for the invite. I've been so excited. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Stephen. Let's end today with the show segment that I refer to as What Can We Hang Our Hat On? And here's my takeaway. Stephen is my brother from another mother. We both had very similar journeys as first-time founders. My first business failed, as did his. Just like Philippe Petit, entrepreneurs climb the high wire with no safety net beneath us. And when our worst fears come true and everything collapses, we face a long downward fall towards the concrete beneath us. When the universe pulled the rug under us, Stephen and I were forced to get a job to support our families. That was not our intention when we started our business, to say the least. And for me, the prospect of returning to the corporate world was a huge blow to my ego and soul. I started driving a limo for $10 an hour. Stephen started charging scooters for $15 a scooter. Now that might not seem like it's much, but to us, it was a statement to the universe that we were going to do whatever it took to take the blow, learn the lessons, and start again. And we did. Stephen risked it all and launched an incredibly successful frozen food brand. And I started a software company called PromoMash, where I'm now helping Stephen not go through the pain that I went through as a brand founder. There is so much to say about entrepreneurs and the grit we all have in order to keep on pushing no matter the obstacles. When a door closes, we don't just find a way around the door. We bust that shit open no matter the wounds we endure. And by the way, when Philippe Petit was asked by reporters why he crossed the Twin Towers in New York back in 1974 via steel rope only a couple of inches thick, he looked at them bewildered and said, "Because I'm a wire walker." That's right. And why do we take the hits day in and day out, building our businesses? Well, because we're entrepreneurs. I want to thank Stephen once again for joining me so that we can all benefit from his wisdom. And until next time, if you found this episode helpful, please hit that subscribe button and tell other entrepreneurs out there what value you receive from it so that we can attract even more high-quality people into our Seven Hats community. So for now, I will bid you farewell and success on your journey. And until next time, my name is Yuval Selik, and I tip my hat to you.